Cheyenne, Wyoming, here we are. Let's roll. I have no idea what to expect. It's kind of like buying one of those mystery eggs at the grocery store for your kids, and you wonder what's inside of it. Every time we go to a meetup, I have no idea where we're going, how many people will be there, the energy that will also be in the room, whether people want to make calls, whether they have deals. I have no idea. So we have to wing it every single time. I think this is the biggest muscle I've had to flex, is just being able to go with the flow in every single meetup and go, okay, I guess we're doing this today. How many people in here have never done a deal? Raise your hand. Okay, so like 40%. Okay, cool. So if I'm a newbie, somebody that's new, there's a lot of fear you're gonna have. And one of the biggest fears you're gonna have is not only hearing a no, biggest fear you're gonna have is what happens if they say yes, right? It's the, oh crap, they said yes, okay? And I'll give you a good story of why I think wholesale is gonna get significantly regulated. Right now, the Attorney General of Arizona is hitting so hard on wholesalers. They are trying to push a big act to outlaw wholesaling. And they're also trying to make it so no real estate investor can pay under 81% of the value of a property. That sounds crazy, right? Because you're eliminating the free market. But why is that probably going to happen? It's probably going to happen because wholesalers will lock people under contracts and then not know what to do with it and then cancel the contract. I have a friend who is the Attorney General of Utah. His name's Sean Reyes. Last year, he did not go for office again, and he's now back in the private sector. And he calls me up about a year and a half ago, goes, hey, one of my good friends, district attorney out of California, he has a question, and I couldn't answer it for him. Do you mind getting on the phone call with him? I go, sure. That's a scary phone call to make, by the way. And he goes, dude, I can't figure out this scam, Pace. There's this scam that's going around in California. It's a massive, massive scam. Can you help me understand what the heck is going on? I go, yeah, sure. So he says, we have a lot of real estate agents. Who do agents represent? Sellers, right? So you have these sellers that have these houses on the market. You're calling the agent. And he said, we're getting all these agents calling our office saying that there's scam artists around town that are starting contracts and then just ghosting the agents. I'm like, okay, so how are they being scammed? He goes, how is that not a scam? They're submitting offers, they're getting contracts, they're opening escrow, they don't put up any earnest money, and then you never hear from them ever again. I'm like, have you ever never heard of a wholesaler before? Like, that's literally the playbook of Wholesale 101. And I was a wholesaler full-time for 8 years, and I've done thousands of wholesale deals. I love wholesale. But what I learned in the very beginning, I was so lucky I had a buyer in every one of my transactions before I ever got a contract, right? So this is what these wholesalers are doing in California and nationwide. They're going out and negotiating with agents, and they're watching YouTube, and they're getting, 70% of value minus repairs, minus my wholesale fee, kind of the old school way of doing it. And they get a contract, and now how much time do they have to find a buyer? 10 days. Maybe 9, right? Because they open escrow, and now they have 9 days. Otherwise, that inspection period's out of contract. And very rarely will they try and even put up an EMD. They're trying to float through and not put up EMD, which is not a legal contract in the first place. These wholesalers then ghost the agents because there's no skin off their nose. Like, if I ghost you and I just abandon you, no big deal. Okay, the way wholesale should work when you are a new person, we're not talking about Michael, or we're not talking about Casey, or we're not talking about Johnny. We're talking about new people, right? You should not be negotiating with a single family home, a multifamily property, an RV park, unless you already have a buyer that you are talking to that will verify the numbers before you get somebody under contract. That's my personal opinion. And educating thousands and thousands of people, I see this process of getting into a negotiation and then magically getting under contract without really knowing the numbers. You just go, well, I'm close to what I think the number is, get the contract. When you have to cancel a contract or start ghosting people, subconsciously you start thinking, man, this business is kind of shady. And then you don't want to take action anymore because you see this blockade. Meanwhile, if you have a buyer lined up, right, this is why, like, one of our sponsors, Lynn Buys Houses, if you guys are here locally, it's like, talk to him before you submit an offer. You guys are so afraid of, like, what if the buyer goes around me? Then they're not a buyer. No buyer, legitimate buyer, is ever going to go around you. Well, now the next question is, how do I find a real buyer? Step number one, don't go to Facebook groups. Okay, because those aren't buyers, those are wholesalers posing as buyers. Where do we find real legitimate buyers? Public record, guys. When somebody actually buys property, it's recorded at the county recorder's office. It's public record if somebody is a legitimate buyer. So PropStream or DealSauce. Does anybody have a laptop here? We can pull up a buyer in what city is this in? Denver?
This is in Colorado Springs.
Okay, cool. So I can show you how to find buyers that have bought in the last 60 days and have proof that they bought on public record. We should not be wasting our time anywhere else. Now, meetups are helpful. I think that it's an elevated experience over a free Facebook group, but if you go to a free Facebook group, bro, you are asking for trouble. How many people have ran into fake wholesalers that say they're the buyer, but they're not really the buyer? You've ran into it. Okay, cool. So this would give you kind of like some gun-shy feeling like, oh man, I want to bring this to the meetup and I want Pace to call the person because then I can verify with Pace, he's not going to screw me over. His reputation is, he's been around for 12 plus years. Okay, the way this should work, all of you new people, how many people intend to wholesale at some point? Okay, if you intend to wholesale, your step one is not call sellers, ever. That's never step one. Step one is have at least one buyer lined up that you know is a legitimate buyer. My first step, if I was in freaking Wyoming, I would go and hang out with you. I'd go not buy you lunch because you don't want people picking your brain. You're too busy, right? You don't want zombies coming and eating your brain. But I would text you, I would communicate with you and say, will you be my buyer? If I'm calling a seller, will you tell me what number I should be at in order for it to make sense for you? You would do that for me via text, correct? Welcome to the business, my friends. My first 100 deals that I ever did, my buyer never looked at the house. I text them the address and I said, what do I need to be at in order for you to make money and me to make money? I didn't have to comp a property. I didn't have to wonder. I just knew that they performed, and the first 100 deals I did not comp a single property. That sounds crazy. Funny thing is I still don't comp properties. My team does. But I never got really good at comping. I got good at being in the living room talking to sellers because I had a great buyer that would give me a good quality number, and that's what their team will do for you guys here. Now, you need Colorado, right? Is this helpful for anybody that's new? Should we be calling sellers ever if we don't have a buyer? Now, where does this change and why is this so confusing? This is confusing because you'll see me or Jerry or other people on YouTube calling sellers and you're like, oh, that's what I should do. The difference is we're like Lynn buys houses. We've done hundreds of deals. We know the market and I know where I need to be on that particular deal without me verifying with a buyer. I had to learn that through selling deals to multiple buyers to get to that step. So this is actually step number one. It is not going and generating leads. It is having a customer. Okay, I'll put this in a different way and why this is so freaking weird. Let's say that I am really good at selling shirts, like really good at selling shirts. What's your name? George, right? George. Okay, so George, I go to you and I go, hey man, I need 20 grand to go buy a bunch of shirts. I'm doing pretty good in my local market, but I want to go buy blank shirts and I want to go to Times Square where there's a ton of traffic and I want to buy these shirts for $2 a shirt, sell them for 10. I can 5X this investment and I'll split the profits with you. Sounds like a good deal, right? Okay, cool. So you give me the 10 grand. A month and a half later, you're like, hey man, where's my money? I'm like, dude, I'm having a really hard time selling these shirts. And you're like, man, you scammed me. You decide you're going to jump on a plane, go to Times Square in New York City, and you're going to walk up to my booth and go, where's the freaking shirts that you said you're going to buy? You're lying. You're not trying to sell these shirts. And sure enough, you walk up to the table. I got stacks of shirts. Sure enough, I bought the shirts, but then you start thumbing through the shirts and you go, bro, these are 4XL. And they're pink with rainbow and like unicorn things on the sleeves, and half of them are mesh. You can see your nipples through the shirts. Am I going to sell those shirts? Okay, so the point is, and you go, dude, why is everything 4XL? And I'll go, man, because I got a good deal on the shirt. I got them for $2. And you go, it doesn't matter how good the price is if you don't have a customer. Why are you freaking buying those shirts? Does this make sense? You would actually think I'm crazy that I went and bought those things even though I got them at a great price. Does this make sense? Who should I go to first? Shouldn't I do market research of who my client is? Because who is the client in this transaction? Who is the one that pays your bill? So why are we busy calling these people when we don't even know who the customer is that's gonna pay our paycheck? If I could wave a magic wand and tell people you can't go and call sellers or agents or brokers until you've done 10 deals, and your first 10 deals you should have a buyer lined up before you negotiate, this industry would not it's getting hammered right now. We have 12 markets right now that it's now illegal to wholesale the traditional way, and it's gonna be 25 before the end of 2026. Oh, guys, by 2030, wholesaling is gonna be regulated across the entire country. Now, will we pivot? Yeah, a lot more double closes, a lot more lease options, a lot more creative finance strategies to kind of skirt around it. But the wholesalers that are not aware of what all that is are gonna have a really hard time entering the business. Now, for people that are in the business already, I'm like, thank goodness, right? All the newbies are gonna have a really hard time getting in because they don't know the nomenclature, the terminology. Okay, so before we call somebody on a 14-plex, you don't want to shoot your shot here, look silly before you have a buyer that's already lined up on a 14-plex. Let's say your mom is the owner of the 14-plex. Would you currently want George calling your mom and negotiating if George doesn't have a buyer lined up? Yes or no? No. Then why would we do that? If we wouldn't do it, we wouldn't want somebody else to call our mom and negotiate on a property unless they have the ability to close or somebody backing them, then we shouldn't do the same thing. Do we agree with this? Now, sadly, wholesalers are gonna do this regardless. They're gonna watch this YouTube video and they're gonna go, F-Pace, he sucks. I don't disagree with them. There are a lot of things I suck at, but one thing I am correct about is this. That when I realized, I'd say about 8 years ago, I get a call from one of the sub-2 members, Ted Miller. And I'm on a Zoom with Ted. Ted comes up there. It's like 8 o'clock Arizona time, which means it's 11 o'clock North Carolina time. And Ted says, Pace, I've got this seller. She's in a bad situation. Will you call her? I go, yeah. I buy in South Carolina or North Carolina. It's Fayetteville, North Carolina. So I go, oh, it's late, man. I don't want to call her. It's late. It's 11 o'clock at night. You said she's an older lady. He goes, she's in a bad situation. You should call her. I go, what's going on? He says she is under contract already with another investor, right? And she was supposed to have gotten paid 2 weeks ago at close of escrow, but she can't get a hold of the guy. Okay, I go, all right. So the wholesaler's ghosting her. And Ted's new. So he's like, no, it's not a wholesaler. It's like an investor. I'm like, bro. It is a 20-year-old kid in his mom's basement watching my YouTube channel or Jerry Norton's YouTube channel out of sequence, not in order, and just taking a shot because he's trying to change his life. So he's not a bad kid, but that's what's going on. Ted's like, will you call her? I go, sure. So I call her up, and 11 o'clock at night, I hear her kind of shuffling around. You could hear she's disheveled, kind of waking up, and I hear this really heavy zipper sound, zip. What's she doing? She's getting out of her sleeping bag because this lady who's 83 years old was told by this 20-year-old kid, I'm closing escrow on this day. What did she do? She took money out of her retirement account, paid for movers to go and move her stuff across the country to her daughter's house. She has nothing in the house. She has a ticket in her hand to jump on a plane, and she's waiting for the close of escrow to get money back in her pocket. And she's sleeping in her freaking house. She went to her neighbor's house and I have no more money. Do you guys have a freaking sleeping bag? She didn't say freaking, but that's my word. Do you have a sleeping bag or do you have something I can borrow? She didn't tell her neighbor what was going. She's just too embarrassed. And so she took the sleeping bag and she's been sleeping on it in her house with no furniture, no clothes. Everything's gone across the country. That is what is happening thousands of times. Now, that's a pretty intense repercussion of somebody getting somebody under contract without a buyer lined up. But this is the reason why the Attorney General in every single state is going after wholesaling. Now, will that stop people? No, they'll continue to double close, they'll continue to do stuff. But what we're doing here when we call a seller preemptively before we have a buyer is we're putting ourselves in a bad situation. Cheyenne, Cheyenne, Wyoming, we had no idea what to expect. I didn't know that they were gonna just go, Pace Morby, come up and make a seller call. George, I just wanna say proud of you, man. You made everybody in there take so many lessons and notes. Standing outside, freezing in Cheyenne, Wyoming, and everybody's saying, that was one of the greatest lessons I've ever taken away. So guys, thank you so much for tuning into the YouTube channel. We love you, we appreciate you. Subscribe, share this with a friend. We'll see you guys in Salt Lake City. We're gonna drive this man is going to drive to Salt Lake City. Let's go.